But let's not be fooled. This deal is a ticking time bomb.
This ticking clock is a ticking time bomb. Chaos is taking us closer to a chaotic no-deal exit. Brexit has thrust us into chaos. Looking at what's happening in the House of Commons is still chaos. Brexit is proving to be a difficult and painful process.
Brexit is turning into a never-ending story.
After Brexit referendum, we got strong statements from London. Brexit means Brexit. Out means out. No deal is better than bad deal.
I still think it's preferable to postpone Brexit rather than have a hard Brexit.
The UK is in chaos right now. Mr Johnson's government hangs by a thread. Its word cannot be trusted.
And I would like to denounce Mr Nigel Farage's position here, 20 years fighting Europe, 20 years during which he has been sustained by Europe.
In many of these 105 debates, I had to discuss the UK's departure from the European Union with you. In truth, it has pained me to spend so much of this mandate dealing with Brexit. Waste of time and waste of energy.
It can also be that the British Parliament refuses to ratify this agreement. And in that case, I would just say one thing. If you are unable or unwilling to do it, dear colleagues of the British Parliament, then you must have the guts to put either this agreement or the agreement concluded between the European Union and Theresa May to a popular vote and let the people decide. And I would say that actually this is the only certain way to get to a decision, because we know that either way we will have a British choice and we will respect this choice. We will fight for the United Kingdom to remain, but if a majority accepts the agreement, we will respect that and part ways in a friendly way.
The last time we met, colleagues, to discuss this, I alleged bad faith on the part of those close to the UK government, not their front spokespeople or apologists, but their tormentors, people of bad faith who around this UK government are looking to trash whatever deal you have agreed in good faith. I didn't expect to be proven right as quickly as I have been. Even overnight we saw very worrying moves that a delegated legislation committee stuffed with government MPs has approved ending the rights of residents of EU nationals in the UK, self-employed and business owners. EU nationals were told in the advance of the referendum nothing would change. It's changing now, before the text has even been ratified. So what to do? You must deal with the interlocutors you're dealt. I respect that. But I tell you frankly, it may not have escaped your notice, but the UK is in chaos right now. Mr Johnson's government hangs by a thread. Its word cannot be trusted, even if there was good faith and an intent to implement it. Also, that the UK is not Westminster. I'd refer you to a letter from the joint First Minister of Scotland and of Wales. The Scottish and Welsh parliaments must also consent to this. We have not consented to this. Let's be real, colleagues. There is no possible way that Westminster can conclude proper ratification of this deal this week. We should not lend the credibility of this Parliament or the Council to collude in that shabby deception. The only answer, colleagues, is more time. Time is the great healer. An extension has been requested, albeit through gritted teeth, by a Prime Minister who's desperate to pretend he hasn't, but an extension has been requested. Grant it. Grant it now. Grant it for a year, longer. Mr Johnson and his fellow travellers may have wasted the time. We will not. We are trying to find solutions. We need more time to do that. Thank you.
I want to thank our European friends for their continued patience on Brexit. But let's not be fooled. This deal is a ticking time bomb. If it passes both the UK and European parliaments, in little over a year from now, we may be looking at a situation akin to no deal. There is a risk of divergence on everything from workers' rights to environmental standards to taxation, due to the decision to scrap the level playing field from the withdrawal agreement and place that in the political declaration. The EU would walk away from free trade negotiations if there is too much divergence, and it is unrealistic to think that such negotiations could conclude in only a year. This is a task set up to fail by a British Prime Minister who won't need to clear up the mess, because he'll probably be removed from power in a general election soon. His self-imposed deadlines should not dictate the futures and freedoms of young people, our fellow Europeans in the UK and Brits living elsewhere in the EU. President Tusk has acknowledged receipt of the letter requesting an extension. We need that extension to be granted. We must have a people's vote.
When it comes to Brexit, the decisive thing is that Europe should continue to keep a cool head. As far as I'm concerned, it's keeping Europe together that's important. That is what must guide this process. And the most dangerous thing for the UK and the EU would be a no-deal Brexit. I think the best thing would be if the British were to remain in the Union, but if there is to be an exit, then we need to maintain good relations, and that is how we will keep Europe together.
The European Council are playing games with all of us. They were quite happy to go along with Boris Johnson's timeline for Brexit, but not to follow the long-held EU line encouraging North Macedonia and Albania to join our European project. The Council were willing to accept the promises of a liar Prime Minister in the UK, but not willing to keep their word when it comes to good neighbours in the Balkans. We have made a promise to North Macedonia and Albania, and not honouring that promise could be a historic mistake. Regarding the UK, what kind of international treaty should be rushed through without proper process or scrutiny? The Council has tried to bounce this issue back onto the European Parliament without allowing sufficient time for consideration and reflection before rejection or ratification. Brexit will not magically go away. If the deal passes, this is just the end of the beginning rather than the beginning of the end. Now begins the hard part.